Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the US campaign to block Huawei, the Chinese tech giant. This isn't just about a corporate battle, it's about the future of technology and global power. We'll unpack how Huawei found itself in the crosshairs of the US government, explore the accusations, sanctions, and global fallout reshaping the tech world. So buckle up and let's get right into it.
Uncle Sam's Roadshow, selling the Huawei ban. The US slapped Huawei with the Entity List, cutting it off from key American technology. It was about isolating Huawei on a global scale. The US went on a diplomatic roadshow, convincing allies to ban Huawei from 5G networks. It wasn't always an easy sell. They shared classified information, claiming Huawei's involvement in espionage and cyber attacks.
Allies fall in line, others resist. The US pressure campaign had mixed results. Some countries like Australia, New Zealand, and Japan quickly banned Huawei. In Europe, the response was more nuanced. The UK eventually announced a phased ban. Developing countries largely resisted, valuing Huawei's affordable technology.
Section 3. The Domino Effect. A fractured tech landscape. The US campaign against Huawei had a profound impact. It accelerated technological decoupling, with the US and China retreating into their own spheres. The world was fracturing into two parallel systems, each with its own rules and champions. This fragmentation impacted supply chains and geopolitics. Companies faced challenges navigating sanctions and tensions. The Huawei saga reminded us that technology is a tool of geopolitics.
Section 1. Huawei fights back lawsuits and legal challenges. Now, Huawei isn't exactly known for backing down from a fight. Faced with what they saw as an existential threat from the US government, they decided to fight fire with, well, lawsuits. See, Huawei knew that simply complaining about being unfairly targeted wasn't going to cut it. They needed to mount a legal challenge to argue that the US government's actions were not only unjustified, but also illegal. So they lawyered up, and I'm talking about the legal equivalent of assembling the Avengers. They filed lawsuits in US courts, challenging the constitutionality of the Entity List designation and accusing the US government of exceeding its authority. They argued that the US was unfairly targeting them based on their nationality, and that the allegations of espionage were unfounded and politically motivated. They demanded their day in court, a chance to clear their name and prove that they were a victim of a geopolitical witch hunt. Section 2. The HarmonyOS Gambit, building a homegrown alternative. Remember how the US government tried to kneecap Huawei by cutting off their access to Google's Android operating system? Well, Huawei had a backup plan up their sleeve, HarmonyOS. HarmonyOS was Huawei's homegrown operating system, their answer to Android and iOS. It had been in development for years, but the US sanctions forced them to accelerate their plans and bring it to market much sooner than expected. Now, building an operating system from scratch is no easy feat, especially when you're trying to compete with the likes of Google and Apple, who have a massive head start and billions of users hooked on their platforms. But Huawei was determined to make HarmonyOS a success. They poured resources into its development, recruited app developers, and even offered incentives to consumers to switch from Android. They knew that in the long run, their survival depended on reducing their reliance on American technology and creating their own ecosystem.
Section 3. Shifting Sands, navigating a multipolar tech world. The Huawei saga isn't just a story about one company's struggle for survival. We're moving away from a unipolar world dominated by the US to a multipolar world. China is emerging as a major player in this new world order. Huawei symbolizes China's technological rise and its challenge to US hegemony. This multipolarity creates challenges and opportunities for tech companies. They must navigate a complex geopolitical landscape with different rules and alliances. A fractured tech world. The end of integration? The US campaign against Huawei wasn't just about one company. It exposed a deeper fault line, threatening to splinter the internet. Technology was supposed to connect us, breaking down barriers. But now, fragmentation and distrust are on the rise. Imagine the internet splitting into separate walled gardens, a US-led bloc with its own standards, and a China-led bloc with a distinct vision. This fragmentation has profound implications for everyone. Companies must choose between blocks or navigate complex rules. Consumers may find their choices limited. The dream of a global tech ecosystem is fading. A new era of technological competition is emerging. The trust deficit. Eroding confidence in a globalized tech ecosystem. The Huawei saga exposed geopolitical fault lines and eroded trust in the globalized tech ecosystem. Technology connects people and drives progress. But the Huawei case showed a darker side, with exploitation for surveillance and espionage. Allegations and lack of transparency left many uneasy about tech security. This trust deficit has far-reaching consequences. It undermines confidence in the digital economy and fuels mistrust. Rebuilding trust requires effort from all stakeholders. The Huawei saga highlighted a fundamental dilemma in the tech world, balancing collaboration with geopolitical competition. Innovation thrives on openness and collaboration. The free flow of ideas and talent is essential. Yet, technology is a key domain of geopolitical competition. This manifests in industrial policies and restrictions. The Huawei case brought this into focus. The US restricted Huawei over security concerns. These actions stifled innovation and fragmented the tech ecosystem. Balancing collaboration and competition is a defining challenge. Governments must establish clear rules for cyberspace. Tech companies must navigate a complex geopolitical landscape.
So after all that, you might think Huawei would be down for the count. The US government threw everything they had at them: sanctions, diplomatic pressure, even a little name-calling. But here's the thing about Huawei: they're scrappy. They're survivors. They're used to fighting for every inch of market share, overcoming obstacles and proving the doubters wrong. Their smartphone sales outside of China have plummeted. They've doubled down on their domestic market, where they remain incredibly popular. They're investing heavily in research and development, particularly in areas like 5G, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing. Huawei's story is far from over.
The US campaign against Huawei had a profound impact on the global rollout of 5G. 5G was supposed to connect everyone at lightning-fast speeds. But now, the 5G landscape looks more like a patchwork quilt. The US and its allies have banned or restricted Huawei. They rely on Ericsson, Nokia, and Samsung for 5G infrastructure. Meanwhile, China and others embrace Huawei's 5G technology. This divided 5G landscape impacts the future of the internet and digital economy. The Huawei saga is just one chapter in a much longer story about the shifting balance of power and technology's role in it. For decades, the US has led in technology, reaping economic and geopolitical rewards. But China's rise is changing the game. With massive investments and growing tech talent, China challenges US dominance. The Huawei saga is a microcosm of this larger struggle. It's about control over future-shaping technologies. The stakes are incredibly high. The Huawei saga is a wake-up call that technology is not neutral. Our choices today will have profound future consequences.
So there you have it. Huawei, caught in a global power struggle, faces espionage accusations and trade wars. It's a fundamental shift in the global order. The digital world is fracturing along geopolitical lines. The US and China are locked in a battle for technological supremacy. Huawei has become a pawn in this high-stakes game. The old rules no longer apply. The future is uncertain. Now you might be thinking, John, this is all very interesting, but what does it mean for me? Well, my friend, it means everything. This is about the future of the internet, the devices you use, and the choices you make. Will we live in a world where the internet is open and accessible to all? The answer, my friends, is up to us. We can demand a future where technology serves humanity. It's up to us to shape it.